Today's lesson is the fourth lesson in our first unit of the year, and we are talking about multiplying and dividing integers. The homework that goes along with this is page 6 and 7 in the packet. Now, this information is good for the 2016-2017 school year, but this may be off for future years. So the quiz and the problem of the week are Friday of this year. I don't know what they will be next year. So if you're looking at this in the future, pay attention to what I say in class. All right, what we are reviewing today is estimating. We did rounding yesterday with decimals, and this is basically estimating, which is the same thing as rounding fractions, mixed numbers to the nearest whole number. So 3 2/3. 2/3 is more than a half. How do you know that? Half of this 3 here in the denominator is 1 1/2. 2 is more than that, so it's more than half. So this is about 4. 4 3/10. 3/10 is less than a half, so this is closer to 4 than it is to 5. 9 1/5. 1/5 is less than a half, so 9 is closer to 9 1/5 than 10 is. 8 3/4. 3/4 is more than a half, so this is closer to 9 than it is to 8. 6 9/11 is almost 7. That's estimating fractions. All right, estimating by rounding to the nearest hundred. These are all total review things that you should be already good at. But I'm just brushing out cobwebs. 655 is closer to 700 because that 5 makes it round up. 679 is closer to 700. So if we were to estimate this in our head, the answer is 1400. So I add this, and I don't get something that is somewhat close to 1400. I know that my answer isn't reasonable. Take a look at number 4, 749. That rounds to 700. 733 rounds to 700. 700 minus 700 is about 0. Your answer is going to be a small number. And if we actually work the problem out, it would be a small number. Estimate by rounding to the nearest whole number. So 2 1/2. 1/2 is 0.5. 5 or above, you give it a shove. So this will be 3 times 2 9/12. 9/12 is more than a half. It's almost 3. 3 times 3 is 9. Our answer should be somewhere around 9. That's why you do this estimating. So when you work these problems out and get an exact answer, you can see if your answer is what we call reasonable. Take a look at this one. 8 6/7 is almost 9 times 9 4/5 is almost 10. 9 times 10 is 90. The answer to this actual problem, if you work it out, should be about 90. I think that's enough of those. All right. Today we are talking about multiplying and dividing. We are going to look at some of these tables to see if we can find a pattern, and then we're going to look at the pattern to help us develop rules. So 3 times 3 is 9, 3 times 2 is 6, 3 times 1 is 3, 3 times 0 is 0. Look at our pattern. We're doing 3 times -1 times -2 times -3. This number right here is going down by 1. What's happening over here? We're going down by 3. So if I go down from 0 to 3, I get -3. If I go down, I get -6. If I go down, I get -9. So take a look at this. When I multiply two positives together, I get a positive answer. When I multiply a positive and a negative together, I get a negative answer. Okay, let's take a look. Reading down the column, her pattern in the product. Each product decreases by 3. This is your pattern rule. Rewrite the pattern rule as an addition rule. Well, if I want to decrease by 3, isn't that the same as adding -3? Adding -3 is exactly the same as decreasing by 3. Same thing. Think about multiplication as addition of groups. Complete each statement. Multiplying 3 groups of -1 is the same as adding 3 groups of -1. So 3 times -1, 3 groups of -1 is -3. Multiplying 3 groups of -2. is the same as adding 3 groups of negative 2, which would give me negative 6. Multiplying is the same thing as repeated adding. All right, let's take a look here. Same exact thing, except our first number now is negative 3, and I'm multiplying by 3, 2, 1, 0, negative 1. So this is going, we got a pattern going here again. This column is going down by 1. What's happening here? Negative 9, negative 6, negative 3. These are the ones we just did. 0. Isn't this increasing by 3? So if I increase by 3, 0 plus 3 is 3, plus 3 is 6, plus 3 is 9. Take a look at what's going on here. We are increasing by 3. So we had already said on our last page that when we multiply a positive times a negative, we get a negative. Take a look at this. A negative times a negative is giving us a positive. So let's look at these rules. When you multiply a positive integer by a positive integer, the product is how we say multiplication, is positive. When we multiply a positive integer by a negative integer, the product is negative. And we can see this from our tables. When we multiply a positive integer by a negative integer, it is negative. And when we multiply a negative integer by a negative integer, it is positive. Now, I like to say this. This is a Teresianism. When you are multiplying or dividing two numbers, if the signs are the same, the answer is positive. If the signs are different, the answer is negative. Okay? If they are the same, and I'm only talking about two numbers here. If they're the same, it's positive. If they're different, it's negative. So let's look at this. So 2 times 3 is 6. We know that. 8 divided by 2 is 4. We know that. These are two positives, we get a positive. Let's look at negatives. Negative 2 times negative 3 is positive 6. Negative 8 divided by negative 4 is positive 2. When they are the same, the answer is positive. If they are different, it's negative. So negative 2 times positive 3 is negative 6. Negative 8 divided by positive 4 is negative 2. Now, there is a huge concept that you need to understand. If I write this problem, this is negative 8 divided by 4. That gives me negative 2. I can write that this way. I can write that this way. This is negative 8 divided by 4 is negative 2. I can write it this way. There is one negative. It does not matter where it is. It can be attached to the numerator. It can be right in front of the fraction or division bar. It can be attached to the denominator. It will give you a negative answer because these signs are different. Now, if I did this, how many negatives do I have here? I've got 2. So I would attach this negative to the numerator. Negative 8 divided by negative 4 is positive 2. That is a giant concept with division. It doesn't matter where the negative is. If there's one of them, the answer is negative because you've got a negative and a positive. If there are 2 of them, that's 2 negatives. When the signs are the same, the answer is positive. All right, let's take a look at some examples. 5 times negative 8. Signs are different. The answer is negative 40. Negative 35 divided by 7. Signs are different. The answer is negative. Negative 5. Here we go. This is one big negative right here. Here we have 3 numbers. In this, I would just work left to right. Negative 12 times negative 6. They are both negative. So this answer is going to be positive. 72 times, bring down the negative 1. 72 times negative 1, the signs are different, so the answer is negative 72. Here's one of those ones I was talking about. Take a look at this negative right here. I would slide that into the numerator and think of this as negative 15 divided by negative 3. See our two negatives? That negative 15 divided by negative 3 is positive 5. Let's take a look at this one. Negative 11 times positive 5 is negative 55 because they're different. Times, bring down the negative 2. They're the same, so positive 110. Good rule of thumb. If you've got multiple numbers and you are multiplying, if you have an even number of negatives, like here I've got 2 negatives, it ends up being positive. If you've got an odd number of negatives, look, 1, 2, 3, it ends up being negative. Let's look at this. I'm going to multiply these and these. Negative 2 times negative 7, or positive 7 is negative 14 times. Negative 3 times negative 2 is positive 6. Now when I multiply this, I've got a negative times a positive, so our answer is going to be negative. And I get what, 84? Negative 84. All right, last example, number 8. Again, let's slide this negative up to the numerator. So negative 18 divided by 6 is negative 3. All right, let's review. When multiplying or dividing, positive or integers. If the two numbers, if the sign's the same, it's positive. If it's different, it's negative.